Hey, how you doing? Ronn James here, Real Estate's Most Wanted. I'm here with Darren St.Jacques from Nook and Cranny Home Inspections.
Hi Ron, how you doing?
Good to see you, brother. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about roofing. With a home inspection, it usually kind of starts from the top, works its way down to the bottom. So Darren's going to take us through looking at a roof and telling us what's good and what's bad and what we should be looking for and what home inspectors look for professionally.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, most home inspectors, when they come to do an inspection of a house, they want to look at the exterior envelope, which of course includes your roof and all the materials. A roof typically is made up of its rafters underneath, which hold up your sheathing, and your surface, which is in this case asphalt, goes on top. The job of the asphalt shingle is to allow water to wick away from the house. Flat roofs, for instance, which we don't have here, but they tend to be very waterproof by nature, whereas most homes with sloped roofs, their job is to let the water run off into the gutters and down the downspouts and drain away from the house.
Can you show us that?
Absolutely, let's go up and have a look.
Ooh, I think I'm afraid of heights. Holy dumping.
Well, we don't have to get up. We can see it's a little wet today, but what I'm going to look for, and you can see a lot from these, and we can see all the flashings, and the flashings are...
What are the flashings?
Well, the flashings are any penetration that comes through your roof has to be waterproofed.
So that
Hence
the
the
tar and all that stuff that's sitting there?
And we can see the way the shingle comes around the top of any of the penetrations, for instance, your plumbing vent stack,
right,
to allow any sewage gases to escape. And here you have what they call field vents, and they're up here, and then down here is the bathroom ventilation.
Right,
and
so that's for the fan.
Exactly, the bathroom fan. And your furnace exhaust, which comes up through. And we can see that any water that comes down the roof has to go around it and make sure that it can't come back up through and into the holes cut in your sheathing.
Okay.
And then you have a nice dry interior.
So what are the square discs that are further back up on the roof?
These are the field vents for your attic, and their job is to allow any moisture buildup or heat buildup that's inside your attic to escape. It does this either with gable vents, which are on the side of a gable roof such as this, or soffit venting. And soffit venting is underneath us here, and it's just very small perforated holes that are in the trim work, which allow the air to come up through from the side of the house, across the rafters of the roof, and then out those vents there.
So is there a minimum number of these field vents that we would need to see on a roof, or we're looking for on a roof?
Yeah, typically it's 1 square foot of ventilation per 300 square feet of attic area. So if you had 600 square feet, you need 2. Each one of these typically is 1 square foot hole cut in the sheathing. And of course, with the vents themselves, they're designed to keep out any kind of pests, birds, and moisture.
Now, I've seen these field vents where they are a fan, looks almost like a little silo, or is that, would you recommend that, or?
Most home inspectors don't, because they're mechanical, and by nature they can break down.
Okay.
There's various problems with them. One is on a very calm day, they're not turning. They're turbine vents is actually their name. And if they're not turning, they're not allowing that built up moisture and heat to escape from your attic. Or on the reverse side, a very windy day, they're spinning like crazy. Well, they're actually over-ventilating your attic, which means that they're creating a negative pressure in there, which sucks everything out from inside the house.
You mean I'm
You're
losing
heat or cooling, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I know a lot of people like them. And then, of course, there's just the mechanical breakdown. The bearings can seize up if they're not maintained or greased. Very often you see them wrapped in plastic garbage bags because they leak. So they're really not the best way to go.
Oh, that's good information. Now, as far as shingles, obviously there's different degrees of shingles and styles, sizes, weights, that kind of idea.
Right.
Your recommendation for how long a typical roof would last would
Well,
be how long?
It depends, as you said, on the type of shingle that's used. There's different grades. You've got, you know, good, better, best. Best grade shingles are heavier, they have a better granular material, they're bonded better. They typically will last 20, 25 years. Again, a lot depends on the weather, if there's any overhangs, if they're facing the south where the sun hits them. The job of the granules is actually just to reflect the UV rays, which is very damaging to the shingle itself.
Right.
And then the lower the quality, the least amount of time you'll get out of them. But most people can, reasonably expect 15 to 20 years out of their roof.
Now, as a home inspector, you come up and you're looking at the roof as we are now. What are you looking for?
Well, what I look for is looking up the plane of the roof. I'm looking for anything that could be dishing, which means that the rafters underneath or possibly the sheathing has failed, and it's allowing a dish shape or a bowl shape, if you like, to develop. And what that tells me is to look inside a little harder when I get there. But for now, what I then look at to see is how that's deteriorating that roof field. And when we refer to field, we just simply mean this whole expanse of roofing on this side and the other side. I look, of course, at the shingles themselves to see, are they curling? At the corners, are they coming up? Is it cupping? Is it going this way? Are they missing? Is the material, the granules, gone? Very often, if you look at some roofs, you'll see where, especially lower roofs, where upper roofs drain onto them.
Right.
You'll see the stainage. You also see a lot of missing granules, and that's just from the wear and tear of the water constantly running on that spot. The other thing is the width of this gap. We can see this roof has some wider gaps, some thinner gaps, so it's doing good. There doesn't seem to be any major problems with this roof, and I wouldn't condemn this in any way, shape, or form. But what I look for is if this starts getting too big to the half-inch range, again, if it's starting to lose the corners or if it's missing shingles, then I would, recommend that it either get repaired or look for replacement in the next couple of years.
Good point. Now, on a repair, so if I had to, I've heard the term re-roof. Is there two kind of classifications? Is there a time where they kind of take it all off and then they put new material on, or can they just put new shingles over old shingles?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, there's pros and cons to that. If you're going to strip the roof and let's say take it to the sheathing, and the sheathing is good. The sheathing would be...
That's the wood,
That's
right?
the wood underneath.
Okay.
That would either be a plywood or OSB or oriented strand board. If you would go to that, you've got a lot of cost in removal and disposal and tip fees, those types of things. The other downside to doing that, of course, is the pros to that are that you end up with a really good roof. You can check your sheathing, make sure it's good, that there's no deterioration, cracks, or mildew happening in the wood. The other side is some people think that they're saving money by re-shingling over an existing roof.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and it's in the short term, it's a viable option, but in the long term, it isn't, because what happens is the reason why you had to shingle in the first place was because the existing ones were bad. Now, they will transfer that through to your new shingles and reduce their life expectancy. It's common practice for people to put 2 layers, and in some cases 3. Roofs are designed to hold 3 layers of shingle by weight, but people have to consider too, there's snow loads, there's the wind loads, or referred to as live loads, that put on there, and your base dead load, which is all that weight sitting on your rafters and your existing sheathing, may not necessarily be able to take it. So my recommendation is never go beyond 2. If it's that bad, have them stripped, spend a little extra money to have a professional do it properly, and you'll get far more life out of your roof. That way.
Darren, I thank you. I have a lot of information now on roofs and what you do as a home inspector.
Thank you, Ron.
For more information, please check the websites and have a look at what we can offer. I'm Ronn James, Real Estate's Most Wanted.